Hello, Science 10, and welcome to our lesson on the inside of the cell. So we have gone through and we have talked about a cell membrane, how things are transported across a cell. And now what I would like to discuss with you guys today is all about how to uh, figure out what's inside the cell, because that's a really big important part. So we're talking about the organelles today. So in your notes, we are currently on lesson 6, I believe. Let me just double check that. Lesson 5 on page, that's a good question, 19 it starts. All right. So today you are learning the rules of all the different organelles inside of the cell and how they contribute to homeostasis. You need to be able to identify these organelles using all the diagrams I give you, as well as their function of each organelle and the difference between an animal and a plant cell. So we're going to start off with the animal and plant cells that I want to just quickly speak about. So the first thing you have to know about an animal and a plant cell, and we'll put this in a chart at the end, is that they are different in shape. That is one of the first things, okay? A plant cell is more of a square shape, where a animal cell is more of a circular shape. So they have some very distinguishing features as well. There's different organelles inside that actually make them different. Okay, so an organelle, I should go back, are the internal cell parts that carry out specific functions. We call everything inside our bodies organs. Organelles are the parts inside a cell. Okay, so don't mix those two words up. So let's start by going through and labeling. This would be a plant cell. So on the top of your page where your diagram is, I want you to write plant cell so you know which one we're talking about. So we're going to start right here at the inside with the nucleus and the nucleolus. So the one that this one is actually pointing to is the nucleolus, but we'll talk about that in the animal cell. Right now, I just want to talk about the nucleus as one whole thing. So there's the nucleus with its nuclear membrane. Every organelle has a membrane, just like the cell has a membrane, okay? It's made out of phospholipids. It can pass things in and out, and it is really important. So we have a nuclear membrane that keeps all the DNA inside the nucleus. And that's essentially what the nucleus is the house of the DNA that really runs us. So from there, over here in B, we have what's called a ribosome, and they're really important for proteins. Back over to the other side is the letter C, which is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now it's called rough because it has all these little dots on the outside. Those are actually ribosomes, and it makes it look and feel bumpy. So we call it the rough endoplasmic reticulum or the rough ER. On the other side, opposite, not near the nucleus, we have the smooth ER or the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This actually is where all the phospholipids and cholesterols for the membranes are actually produced. Up on the top here, we have something called the Golgi apparatus or the Golgi body, depending on how you want to refer to it. I have it written as the Golgi apparatus, but you could have it as the Golgi body. Over here, we have the mitochondria, which is very important for ATP production, which is essentially energy production. We have cell membrane, which is the internal structure of the cell. Okay, because we talked lots about a cell membrane. And then we have down here, a vacuole. A vacuole in a plant is really, really large, and they only have one. It's one of the main differences between plants and animals, but we'll get to that in a minute. The cytoplasm is everything that is inside that is not an organelle. It's like this, that's where all the organelles sit. It's kind of like a jelly-like structure. And then we have the chloroplast, which is where photosynthesis happens. Only plant cells have chloroplasts. And then we have a cell wall, which again, only plants comparative to animals and plant cells, only plant cells have a cell wall. We know bacteria also have a cell wall. And I'm going to talk about in our class discussion, the cool thing about what we can see when we have something like a cell wall in two places, like a bacteria and a plant cell. So please make sure you have these written down. And if you need to pause here and do so, please do. I'm going to now move on to the animal cell. So the animal cell is also in your notes. Please label it as animal cell. And let's start here. So A, there's a lot here. This one actually has the nucleus, the nucleolus, and the nuclear membrane all labeled. Now, I accidentally labeled the nucleus and the nucleolus in the wrong spots. So if you could just fix that for me, and I'm just recognizing that now, and I apologize. This should be the nucleolus, and this should be the nucleus. The nucleus is like this entire structure. The nucleolus is like one tiny part inside the nucleus. And then it also has a nuclear membrane. Here, you can see on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, all these little tiny dots. We call those ribosomes. Okay, and you can see them right here. And then here is our actual rough ER, or the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and down here is our smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now, in animal cells, most plant cells do not have D. D is called a lysosome, and we'll get into what that means here soon. But lysosomes are these round vesicles found inside of the plant, of the animal cell, sorry. Then we have what we call the Golgi body and the Golgi vesicles. So this is the same as the Golgi apparatus. I just wrote Golgi body this time so you can see that they have two different names that it goes by, but it is the exact same thing, Golgi apparatus or Golgi body. Now the Golgi body likes to package its proteins that it's making in these things called Golgi vesicles. Plant cells do the same thing. Our other one doesn't have it labeled, which is not a problem, but the Golgi vesicle, okay, is important and you should have it labeled. All right, down here, letter F is the mitochondria. G is our cell membrane. H is our centriole. Now, again, difference between plants and animals is animal cells have these things called centrioles, which are really, really important when it comes to our cells being able to divide and create new cells. And I'll talk about that later. We have a vacuole. Now, vacuoles, there's multiple vacuoles in an animal cell compared to one in a plant cell. And then last but not least, we have the cytoplasm. So please have these all labeled into your notes as we are going to go through each and every one individually, talking about each organelle. If you have any questions, I'm going to post a second video with all the functions just so that this one isn't so long. So if you have any questions or you're unsure, please ask and I will talk to you soon.